And you're live.
Okay, good morning again, Senate Natural Resources and Energy, coming back from break. We're joined by LG Kelsey, Legislative Council. We're gonna start with a walkthrough or side, I think we're gonna look at the side-by-side comparison. I think that would be most useful to me, I think, hopefully others as well, to see sort of what the House did to 325. From there, that is, for what it's worth, that is my priority today. With whatever time we have left, which is not very much, should we have time, we'll look at 327, which has the CPACE language, and then H775, which has which we took possession of, and has some language that is first in our jurisdiction. Okay, take it away.
Elsie Kelsey, Office of Legislative Council. So last week, S325 passed out of the House. This is an act relating to regional planning and Act 250 tier jurisdiction. The House's proposal amendment is different than what you all passed. And so I have provided for you a section by section summary of what the House passed, as well as the side by side comparison. So their bill is in some ways very different, and in other ways has similar language. So the changes are in yellow. So starting on page 1, they do not have an intent section. You did.
Okay. Why? It doesn't matter, let's. Too many words. Sorry. Anyway,
well, and I mean,
it's
you
fine.
don't always want to have an intent section.
Okay.
I advise against it usually.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there are many reasons something could pass, and people have individual reasons.
Okay, great.
So next, what is new? The House, as I'm sure you heard, is proposing in this version to repeal section 19 and 21, as well as 22 and 24 of Act 181. Sections 19 and 21 have not yet taken effect, so this is a prospective repeal, and would be repealing them on July 1 of this year so that they would never take effect. Those are the road jurisdiction trigger and the creation of tiers 2 and 3. Then in the next block is about the effective dates related to these things, and so those sections that are being deleted, their effective dates are being removed. They are also the effective date related to sections 12 and 13, which are criterion 8C. Those are the same as yours, so that's left as January 1, 2028. Good. Section 22 is being repealed of the tier 3 rulemaking, which has already begun, but that will be repealed and stopped, as well as the existing tier 2 area report. And I'll just point out, because it was phrased as a report about how the changes in tier 2, the House has included a different report that incorporates a lot of the elements, or some of the elements from what was already starting to be looked at.
Makes sense.
Next, your version had an extension of you were changing the date related to the road rule that's being repealed, and you were extending the date for the priority housing project exemption from January 1, 2027 to 2028. The House version does not include that, so that exemption still under the House's version would end January 1, 2027.
I think I'm seeing that. That's the priority housing. What is the part under Roman numeral that's the 2030, that's also removed.
That's the road rule.
Oh, that's good. Thank you. Yep. Good. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Yep. Yeah.
And then on page 3 of the side by side, your section 3, they have also not included, which would be changing the definition of priority housing projects. So they're not making a change. The next section is amending NBSA 6081, which is the exemption section of Act 250. The first language that starts on page 3 and goes into page 4. This was one of the floor amendments, which is not something that you all talked about directly, but this is adding an exemption for accessory on-farm businesses that are for educational, recreational, social events. And so you have talked about this in other bills. Currently, there isn't a partial exemption for accessory on-farm businesses, but it is specific to businesses that are for the sale, storage, preparation, and processing of products, not for events.
Okay.
Next, there are the interim housing related exemptions. The first 2 in your version on page 4, subsection B, this is the accessory dwelling unit temporary exemption. You had pushed it back to January 30, the House has not included it, so that still stands at July 1, 2028.
This was an exemption.
Yes.
Okay.
The next one, CC, is also an Act 250 exemption. This was for no permit or permit amendments for conversion of a commercial structure to 29 units of housing or fewer. The House did not include this, so that stands at July 1, 2028. Next are the interim housing exemptions. Oh, and my spacing is off. The interim housing exemptions, your version had it going, pushing them out from January 1, 2030. You also had included for the subdivision 4 and mixed use development. In all of these, the House has left them, has removed the extra subdivision and mixed use development language. And also kept all of that January 1, 2020. Next, on page 6, they also added language in subdivision DD 2A, which is the 50 units of housing, interim exemption. You had a floor amendment related to this language. They have altered it so that now it reads to qualify the housing project, including any land incidental to the use of the housing project, such as lawns, parking lots, driveways, leach fields, and accessory buildings, shall be on 10 contiguous acres or less. You had struck, or the floor amendment had struck the 50 units being located on 10 acres or less.
I just want to make sure I'm understanding that one. So okay, so this is, yes, but it's. So I'm pausing here because I just want to make sure I'm understanding. So if the whole parcel is 20 units, not 20, it's 20 acres, but your leach field, lawn, parking lot, driveway, etc. If that is 10 acres or less, then it still gets the exemption? No. Then it's. Sorry, I think I'm.
The whole thing has to be the acres or less.
Yes.
But the parcel doesn't have to be 10 acres or less. Right, I'm thinking about the difference between all of these things and the parcel.
So that's not how I would interpret it.
Oh.
I guess I would be curious if that's what the land use review board would say, but activity doesn't never use the word parcel, they use tract of land.
Okay,
And so generally speaking, Act 250 jurisdiction attaches to the whole parcel.
right,
Yeah.
right, it attaches to the whole parcel, but if what is basically involved in development or disturbed or whatever is 10 acres or less, then you're good.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you, let's keep going.
Yep, so the same with the next exemption. There's still, which is 2028, and then getting rid of subdivision and mixed use development. Your version had a floor amendment for 50 units of housing located in areas that don't necessarily have zoning. And as long as there's at least 20% of the units affordable, that has been.
This was one where we just included the definition of a private housing project.
Almost.
That's close, or it's a similar language, yeah, okay. Okay. Cool. Okay,
Next were the changes you made to the tier 3 rulemaking. They have repealed this because they have gotten rid of tier 3. And same with the other rulemaking provision you added. That's not there because they repealed tier 3. And the road rule. Next, you had made a change to the tier 1A area requirements, striking the word rare. The House has not included that.
okay,
Next, so
we're on the top of page 9, or like the second box on page 9, that's the rare.
Yep.
Language, yeah. Yep.
next on page 9 is 24 VSA 4460. Their section matches your section. This is about towns that have to take over Act 50 permits until their conditions have been added to a municipal permit.
I'm sorry. How is their version different than our version?
It's not,
Oh, is this, okay, is
there's no yellow.
just this.
The last box on page 9, the House added criterion 8C rulemaking. Those rules are currently due to LCAR for criterion 8C on June 15, 2026. They pushed that back to 2027.
Oh, that's not something we have.
Correct. Next, on page 10, section 9, the House added a public engagement plan section law provision. They have this section would appropriate $30,000 to the State Natural Resources Conservation Council to develop a public engagement plan. Consulting with the Vermont Council on Rural Development and the Vermont Association of Conservation Districts. They shall look at designing a plan to gather statewide input from Vermonters on the risks of losing working land, both agricultural and forest land, and critical natural resources not already protected by current land use policy. And so that would be due next January.
And is this in the place of that tier 2 report?
No.
Oh, okay, so there's yet different.
Yes. This is for them to develop a plan, not actually do public engagement, but to develop a plan that could be used for public engagement on issues around working lands and natural resources.
Planning public engagement. Gotcha. Okay.
All right. Next on page 11, they've added the creation of a joint legislative environmental oversight committee. So your version did not have anything like this, but this would be creating in statute a permanent joint legislative oversight committee on environmental permitting. And so it would have oversight over the land use review board and the Agency of Natural Resources permitting processes. The only authority that that is given to this committee, so it's a committee made up of 3 House members and 2 Senate members. They may meet up to 6 times per year outside of sessions.
They tried to sneak that one.
What's that?
So they tried to sneak that in.
3 House, 2
Why is that
Senate.
to be the same?
I don't think anyone snuck it in. They said repeatedly on the record why they had chosen that. I'm happy to pass that along.
2 and 2 seems pretty cool.
Could also go with 2 and 2. The concern was raised that most of the Senate members already are on committees, joint committees.
Thoughtful of them.
So this board does not have the verbs for what are included in joint oversight is just, down in G, the duties, so. They shall meet with the land use review board and ensure strong communication and coordination regarding the implementation of Act 181, how the Act 250 permitting process is working and how the new board structure is working. And they shall also meet with ANR to learn about agency efforts to improve and better coordinate its permitting processes and coordinate efforts to further improve the process for applicants. There's a current sunset of July 1, 2029, so 3-year.
Okay.
On page 12, section 11 is what is based on what was previously the tier 2 area reports. It's asking the land use review board to report back on issues that were already included in the tier 2 area report. There's 3 different issues at 3 different times. The land use review board said that they had already started working on the accessory on-farm business recommendations, and so that one is due June 15, 2026. The next one is on the effects of Act 250 mitigation actions on primary agricultural soil. And that is due July 1, 2027. And then third is the effects of jurisdictional triggers and criterion 9L on the development of retail and service businesses outside of village centers and addressing sprawl and strip development. And that's due November 15, 2027. So prior to Act 181, the last time a criterion was added to Act 250 was 9L. It was added to address sprawl and strip development. And so looking at how that has worked and if it should be improved. All right. So then starts the changes related to regional planning. This language is very similar to what you all passed. So first, on page 13, the first change is that on page 13, this is the language from H940. So you made a couple of changes to the regional planning process to give them a process to make amendments to regional plans on a slightly quicker schedule. In a different bill, H940, you also updated the enhanced energy planning portion for regional plans. That bill has already passed and been sent to the governor. I don't know if he's got it yet, but it already passed both bodies. If you do not add it to this language could be overwritten because this bill, if it passes, would pass later in time. So this is adding language that you have already passed, that the whole general assembly has already passed. So what's happening on page 30? Same on page 14, also adding the energy compliance language. Enhanced energy planning language. And same on page 16. Otherwise, the language between the Senate and the House in this section is the same. On page 19, there are 2 sort of small formatting changes. One is referencing the subdivision and one is giving it a title. Next on the bottom of page 19 into page 20, this is amending section 24 VSA.
Wait, I'm sorry, can you go back for a second? The language that was roughly the same as 940. I just wanted, something I may have just missed is how is this language different than what we passed in 940, or is it different?
So in 940, that language was amending the regional planning statute.
Yes.
Only in reference to enhanced energy planning. It was not making the other changes you're proposing regarding the amendment process.
Right, okay, so that which was in 940 is in,
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
but we had other things as well, and that is, okay,
Yes.
I'm with you, thank you. Okay.
So next is 24 VSA 4348A, the land use categories in the regional plans. A couple of changes have been made here. On 21, there's a typo corrected, in the House version. And then also the House version removed the language you added about it is the intent that most towns have at least one village center. And also in this section, they have removed the reference, you all discussed changing walking distance to compact and multimodal. They have removed those changes. That's on page 22 and 23.
So they kept walking distance.
Yes.
Just taking deep breaths. We're good.
On page 24, you had added as part of the village centers that the municipality has to have either public water or wastewater, and if no water or wastewater is available, they must have soils. They have removed the or water.
Yep. That's okay, great.
Next, on page 25, a small change requested from the editors that we use the language as used in this chapter when we do definition sections. And then on page 26, so this is the smart growth principles. So just to remind all of you, the smart growth principles exist in statute in chapter 76A of title 24. They're being proposed in this bill to be added to chapter 117, the planning and zoning chapter. On the House floor, language was added to subdivision E. Now, the smart growth principles in chapter 117 will be slightly different than the ones in 76A. The language that was added in the smart growth principles means growth that subdivision E serves to strengthen agricultural and forest industries, including homesteading, small scale agriculture and forestry, and supporting housing while minimizing conflicts of development of these industries.
This is in smart principles.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Next. Section 15 is the session law provision extending municipal and regional plans. Your version was if any that were set to expire in 2026 shall be extended till the end of 2026. The House has also added that any that are set to do in 2026 or 2027 shall be extended until December 1st, 2027.
Oh. Or 27.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
Both of you have the repeal of 4476, formal review of regional planning commission decisions.
I think we can just jump down to the next difference.
Okay, so that would bring us to page 30. Because all the changes in the community investment program are the same. Section page 30, the House is adding a statute to the community investment program asking for an annual report on that program. So the community investment board shall have an annual report summarizing what they did that year, including any incentives awarded.
This is a new report.
It is a new report.
Okay.
On page 31, in section 10 of your bill, you had this discretionary review of housing report from the Department of Housing and Community Development. It's section 21 in the House's version, and they have I tried to line it up. It is very similar, but there are a few differences. It is still a report from the department due next January. They've added additional stakeholders to be consulted with, including the Land Access and Opportunity Board, the Vermont Association of Planning and Development Agencies, the Bar Association, the Realtors Association, Vermont Center for Clean Environment, and the Secretary of Natural Resources. Your bill specifically referenced whether there should be a Vermont model code. They have removed that, but they've also focused more on the mechanisms for limiting municipal appeals, including the most commonly raised issue on appeal. And then they're also asking for there to be data around the housing that was built under the interim housing exception, so Act 215. But other elements of the report are pretty similar. Finally, on page 33, the House has included a delay of few of the dates regarding the environmental justice policy rollout. So a few of the dates have been pushed out either a year and a half, or 2 years, based on requests from the Agency of Natural Resources. And then the effective date, yours is on passage, this one is July of 2026.
It's to go read on that.
For the effective date, yes. So repealing laws that have not taken effect yet is a complicated legal mechanism. Because you have to first repeal what has not yet taken effect, give that an effective date, and then also have an effective date for the act in which it's being repealed. And so on passage is a little squishy. Having a known date for both of those things eliminates any concern that one may take effect before the other.
Okay. Interesting.
So yes,
That was for, so it's like, it seems like good hygiene.
yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Yes.
So I got a call yesterday from a member of a regional planning commission.
Okay.
Concerned about some changes that the House made, they're gonna require parsing fees to be more involved, that they don't have staffing for. And what they recommended was that they just make the RPC a member of there's a study committee. So they at least have somebody on the city that's involved, so they can have input into it, if possible.
So what I would
Maybe we should be
recommend,
more specific.
Well, I didn't get into a lot of detail. They were concerned that they're gonna get tasked to do something that they didn't have the resources or the funding for.
well, if I may build on that, it seems pretty clear to me that we need a study. So that's the direction I would like to go. It sounds like you're interested. I mean, I would like to be on it.
I mean, as long as I have that input, I don't be honest, so I could be.
Yeah. Sure,
Okay.
okay. Okay,
Let's ask what.
we're gonna ask for comments, please. Okay, we'll go from there. Okay, thank you. So we do have 10 minutes. Now, one hypothesis is that we might have some time to start walking through the bill formerly known as S-138. Which is CPACE. Do we have time?
I mean, I did it in 5 minutes and sent it out.
Amazing, okay, let's do it.
Okay,
Switch gears.
see pace side by side.
Okay.
This committee passed S-138, commercial property access clean energy projects. When it went to the House, it went to the House Energy and Digital Infrastructure Committee. They worked on it, and then they actually sent it to House Commerce, where it got added to S-327, the Economic Development Bill. So it passed out of the House in S-327. There are fairly minor changes. I mean, given how long, it's an 11-page bill, there's only like 5 changes, so it's fairly succinct, the changes they made. They are highlighted in yellow. So on page 1, you had a definition of district, it has just been moved slightly onto page 2, because now there's a whole definition section with this, because there's quite a few defined terms.
Okay,
So it's just being moved, and then, on page 2, so this is in 3275, they've added language, that is consistent, referencing that this only applies to commercial or industrial buildings, and this program will include water conservation projects and resiliency projects. They did add a definition on page 2 of resilience and resiliency. It is based on the definition of resilience from A&R's resiliency word. And they've also added a definition of water conservation improvement. On page 3, they have struck the language that says that the program can't start until January 1, 2027, because this bill will take effect on July 1, 2026, so they just thought it could start as soon as anyone is ready. On page 4, they struck some language regarding the analyses that were to be done. So it's just struck language that says that the resilience improvements will improve resilience in accordance with state, local, or nationally recognized building standards. There aren't probably too many local or state resilience standards. So what they have done also is that on the next page, they have added that that improvements need to meet or exceed energy efficiency, water efficiency, or renewable energy standards, and meet the commercial building energy standards, the CBs.
I am wondering. I have questions about that. Like, I'm wondering if that's too restrictive somehow, like.
The CBs are the law.
No, but I mean, so, okay. Cause they're, actually, I think maybe I'm just. I think I was thinking of it as like a trade of, in accordance with these building standards. I guess it is, no, that this is, yeah, no, you're right. This is fine. Okay. I just had to I just had to process that a minute. I'm good. Okay.
All right, the next change is on page 8. And this came from the advocates, so, in your version, it said that the amount of a loan cannot exceed 90% of the assessed value of the property. The advocates asked that that be 90% of the, value of the property as stabilized or as complete, to make sure that the property valuation has not lagged, but will incorporate the changes, thereby allowing us to potentially borrow more. Yep. Next, on page 9. This was a request for clarification from Ways and Means. It just says the section shall not be construed to affect a taxpayer's liability or a municipality's responsibility for payment under 32 VSA 5402, the education property tax. And you did not, I don't think anyone had that intent to affect the education property tax. They wanted to just be very clear.
Yeah, great.
So then the last, just couple of changes, on page 9 in 3277, they struck the prohibition that a capital provider or lender shall not serve as a program administrator where it's lending. So,
I think that was,
Yes. Which, to be fair, well, do they have any reason for striking?
not other, I think is the universe of is this going to somehow reduce the universe of program administrators that may be available, especially if perhaps VITA gets involved? I think there may have been a couple reasons, I don't,
Okay,
yeah.
I mean, that's like, so far the only thing that's like raising a flag to me, but whatever, okay.
On page 11, these are the last two changes. It struck the requirement that the Department of Financial Regulation identify program administrators. Okay,
Say that again.
so you had a provision that said the Department of Regulation will meet with stakeholders and identify a list of appropriate entities that could serve as program administrators. They removed that. because I think because people are becoming aware of this bill and may make themselves available.
Okay. Okay. Last
And
one,
then finally, they also just included reference that the projects can now include resiliency improvements in section 3264.
So 138 sitting in committee over in the House. 327 is on our calendar.
so we're reviewing it because it's otherwise, Senator Clarkson's committee to review. So she wanted to know what we thought about this particular part. I mean.
Okay.
For what it's worth, I there's, the list is like, I wish we had a list from DFR. I can live without it, that's fine. The other part that gives me pause is like, lenders can't be administrators. I wish they'd kept that, but is it worth recommending we go to conference over, like? I mean, I'm interested in other people's thoughts. I can highlight. What I might do is just highlight at least that one part for Senator Clarkson. Yes?
Mr. Diallo said that he thought in-state lenders could handle
Okay.
that. I think that Senator Hardy had mentioned
Yeah.
testifier that
Mhm.
was also an administrator
Okay,
in a loan.
so, okay, so you don't have a problem,
No,
you prefer that it be there? I mean, I can,
I don't think it's worth.
okay.
Like it's worth it to accomplish.
Okay, I mean, I'm happy to flag it for for Senator Carson, if they're going to conference committee anyway, that it's something that they could talk about there, but word otherwise not. So like this alone is not the reason. Senator Beck, you're okay with that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, okay, thank you, with that, we are adjourned.